Hello, my name is Ken Kavanaugh, and this is a quick video segment regarding Washington, D.C. statehood and how the Constitution actually relates to this. This is actually a bill that has actually just recently passed the United States House of Representatives, fully, partisan lines. Only Democrats want it, and they want it for one particular purpose, and that is to add two Democrat senators into the U.S. Senate here quickly in the early stages of their coup so that they can actually have 52 senators versus 50 Republicans. But I'm going to be going through just a couple of quick constitutional points here that will clearly state that making it a state is, in fact, an unconstitutional process. And I've already stated to you the reason why the Democrats want to do this. They don't really care about the citizens of Washington, the district, having representation, because if they wanted to do that, they could indeed just turn the land back over to Maryland and allow these voters to vote under Maryland elections. So anyway, let's just go through these constitutional points here real quick. But I'm going to start with just talking about a bit of history of the district, just a little bit here. Um, on this screen here, what we have here is this is a Wikipedia for the District of Columbia retrocession, and I've highlighted a block of text here, and I'm going to just go ahead and read it to you here. The land was originally ceded to the federal government by Virginia and Maryland in 1790. After moving through various stages of federal and state approval, the Virginia portion was eventually returned in March of 1847. The Maryland portion, key point, still constitutes the District of Columbia today, but some have proposed retroceding it, in part or in whole, to address issues relating to the voting rights of the residents of the District of Columbia. In the right-hand side of this screen, you're seeing basically a series of blocks that show you the progression as well as the regression of the district. Essentially, I just want to talk about this relating to the voting rights of the residents of the District of Columbia. In making it a state, as I said before, that actually grants the state two senators to sit in the Senate chamber in our Congress. And right now, the Senate is delicately balanced at 50-50. The Democrats know this, and they also have two senators that they're having difficulty with, and there's more than just two monarch senators, but there's two senators that are standing out right now. That's Senator Manchin of West Virginia, a very, very conservative state with a Democrat senator, and Senator Sinema of Arizona, also a very, very conservative state with a Democrat senator. So these two senators are, of course, tipping in the balance, not necessarily are full-blown Democrats. So by adding these two, by adding the District of Columbia to statehood, would, of course, get them to a better chance of actually passing their legislation uncontested. And that's really their objective of adding this state in. So let me talk about these voting rights of the residents of the District of Columbia. If they actually gave the land back to Maryland, as they did to Virginia back in 1847, and that's the proper thing to do because the land belonged to Maryland at that time, then they would still have voting rights. Maryland would have to add at least a congressional district. They may not have senatorial representation, but they would at least have now a congressional district to represent them there in what is now the outlying area of the Capitol Mall. So that's actually a falsehood. They would also, of course, then have municipality elections. They do today, but they do today under congressional approval. Whereas if you actually broke the the outlying areas of the District of Columbia under Maryland, then such elections would be under Maryland election laws and not federal election laws. So you'd have city and county elections and things like that that would be completely separate from what Congress could dictate. So that'd be a benefit to these people in and of themselves, and it would grant them the voting rights that they actually clamor for. What they would not get is two senators just for this tiny piece of land. And that's really, like I say, that's the goal of the Democrats, is to get two Democrat senators. I've said that now 3 times. I didn't actually pull up the polling charts on this, but I'm sorry I didn't do that. But the reports are is that the District of Columbia has got like 90% registered Democrats. So if it became a state, they would of course have to elect two new senators, and it's clear with that sort of a polling result that they would be Democrat senators. So like I say, that's their objective. They don't really care about these people's voting rights. I do, and I'll point out to you by giving them Maryland County back, and ceding Washington County, you can see in the diagram over here, ceding that back to Maryland, they would have at least their voting rights back and disengage them from the United States Congress. So let me move on, show you this next tab here. This is a map of the proposed new state of Columbia, as I think they want to call it. This is an overview. If you were looking at the previous map, the outlying remaining semi-square area with the Potomac River as the border is the current District of Columbia. The hatched internal body area in the middle of that is basically the Capitol Mall. And it's the Capitol Mall that they would exclude from the new state of Columbia. And what you see all around that, which includes the city of Georgetown, would then become a new state. Again, like I say, this is all Maryland territory. This is all land belonging to Maryland, before it was ceded to the government to become the district. And this is all land that actually belongs to Maryland. I don't know where the Maryland state legislature is at on seeing their land being taken by a new state, but that gets me to the next slide. Let me just go ahead and move on to that. In this slide, this is directly from the United States Constitution. This is to give you the constitutional reference. This is directly from Article 4, Section 3. I can scroll up to show you it's Article 4. There it is, Article 4. Scrolling down, 1, 2, 3. Article 4, Section 3. This is the article that pertains to the states themselves. So in here in Section 3, it says, new states may be admitted by Congress into this union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, nor any state be formed by the junction of two or more states or parts of states without the consent of the legislatures of the states concerned as well as of the Congress. The states concerned. Just to bring back from what I was just saying, in this case, that land belongs to Maryland. And Maryland needs to actually release that again to become a new state. And Maryland hasn't really taken ownership of it yet. And like I say, I don't really know what conversations are going on inside the state of Maryland to discuss the United States Congress actually deciding what to do with Maryland property. And that's really what's taking place here. And this is an unlawful act of the United States Congress to even address this without asking Maryland for their approval. That's what I'm pointing out here in Article 4, Section 3. So essentially, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat-held House of Representatives who've already voted to approve this are already in violation of Article 4, Section 3. Remember, all of these folks have taken oaths to uphold and defend the Constitution, and this is part of it. So they've all violated their oaths of office, which to a person was every Democrat in Congress, and no Republicans. No Republicans voted against this constitutional clause. And that just takes us to the closing part of the Constitution. And this is just a little passage that's found way deep under the enumerated powers of Congress, Article 1, Section 8. I'd scroll back up, but Article 1, Section 8 has got a list of some 15, 16 clauses in it. And I believe this is Clause 16. But it's all found in Article 1, Section 8. So here, this is actually the loose definition of the district. But this is actually talking about the legislative authority of Congress. And it's interesting that it actually ties in with the limitations of actually what laws Congress can actually enforce. And I'm going to even pause on that just to make that quick point. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district. By saying that, it continues to exclude Congress from legislating to the states. Right? And there's been a number of subtle hints that the American people have heard on this, such as, you can't get your interstate highway funds unless you raise your drinking age to 21. So that's because this clause says that they can't enforce their laws in the states because they don't have legislative authority. But that's a different subject. We'll go into that at a different time. So back to the district. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square as may, by session of particular states, and the acceptance of Congress, become the seat of government of the United States. Now that actually just allows, that's where the question is 10 miles square. It says not exceeding 10 miles square. As I told you on an earlier slide, in 1847, the Virginia portion of this was returned to Virginia. It was done so by both the state legislature of Virginia as well as approval by the United States Congress to give it back. So In this case here, however, they're still obligated to return this property to Maryland from whence it came. Also, you cite the precedents of the Virginia Act in 1847. The precedent's already been set that the land actually belongs to Maryland. So those two sections together constitute the unconstitutional practice being executed now by the Democrat Party of America in both the House of Representatives, and is quite possible to see to a person in the Senate. It may be possible that Joe Manchin and I forget Senator Senator's first name, uh, they may object to this power grab, because that's all it is, just a power grab. And that's how I'm going to close this segment down. We're going to go ahead and get back to my twing here and just simply talk at you. This is all a power grab by the Democrat Party. That's what we've been seeing. H.R. 1 is a power grab trying to take federal control of all the elections so that basically Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer can just decide who wins. It reminds me of an old quote from Joseph Stalin. It says, "Those who vote decide nothing. Those that count the vote decide everything." And that's why the Democrats are trying to pass H.R. 1S1, is so that they can actually count the votes. So this is all part of the series of the Democrat Party coup of the American people into a single party system and lead us down the road of socialism, which only leads to communism. But thank you for listening about this Washington, D.C. statehood. I hope that you contact your senators now, your representatives. If they're Democrats, they've already committed this treason. Mine has, and he's heard from me about it. And he's basically going to hear this again via this YouTube. So thank you very much for listening today, and hope we can fix America soon.